Building muscle has become way too overcomplicated. There's three elements that must be understood. When you understand how to thread these three elements together, the process of building muscle becomes much, much easier. But unfortunately, the fitness industry and many coaches try to overcomplicate things so that it becomes something that most people feel they need help with. When in actuality, if you understand the basic concepts and you boil it down to the simplest, most easy way to execute the tasks, it actually is not nearly as difficult as most people think it is. So there's three elements to building muscle. There's the nutrition, there's the recovery, and then there's the stimulation, which is the training. So again, diet, sleep or recovery, and training. Let's start off with training. Training is the one that is probably the most misunderstood. The idea that you're supposed to break down muscle tissue during your training so that it can rebuild into a stronger version of what it originally was before the workout is the concept. So people tend to not understand that training too hard or too long or too much actually is a counterproductive thing. The idea is to stimulate, not annihilate. If you break a muscle down too far, even with the proper rest, recovery, and nutrition and diet, that muscle very possibly will not heal to the point where it actually gets back to where it was plus some. Because remember, it's the recovery to where it was plus the extra that we're after. If we break it down so far that it can't recover by the time it gets trained again later in the week or next week, then really all of your efforts were wasted. So you have to understand that training, there's a balance to the training. Again, most people think that they can out-train a bad diet. They think, well, I'm just gonna train really hard and then I can eat more of what I want. This is the root of the problem. This is where people get annihilation rather than stimulation. Because no matter how hard you train, you're not gonna be able to out-train a poor diet, and that is part of the issue. So that being said, realize that your training, if done properly, should stimulate the breakdown of muscle, not annihilate the muscle. Again, the concept is we want the muscle to recover. We want it to come back to where it was some. So understanding to not overtrain, or usually when I say overtrain, that comes from a person that thinks that they're going to out-train a poor diet. So let's realize that training needs to stimulate, not annihilate. Let's go to the second portion of this, which is your rest and recovery. This one here is really based around sleep, because sleep is the biggest issue when it comes to most people and recovery. Sleep is something that's not high enough on their totem pole in their daily routine. And the crazy thing about sleep is it'll help you rebuild muscle exponentially. It'll help you burn body fat at the same time. It even helps you have a more clear mind, so you're kind of better at everything you do. But again, most people kind of overlook sleep. So you want to make sure that you have a routine, some regularity with sleep. What happens is most people, they end up having a very irregular sleep pattern, and then they think they're going to catch up on the weekends with sleep by sleeping in, which is obviously it's not a bad thing to try to do so. It's just not a very good method of trying to get sleep where it needs to be. The simplest, most effective, it's not very exciting, not very sexy by any means, is a set bedtime. So if you have a set bedtime, what happens is your body will find a circadian rhythm. Well, it has a circadian rhythm, but it'll find a better circadian rhythm, which is your sleep pattern. So if you go to bed at a certain time every night, let's just say you decide, okay, I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. A few weeks into this, 30 days for sure, you're going to start to realize, man, shortly before 10, you can feel yourself kind of getting ready to go to sleep. It's because your body's learned that that's when it goes to sleep. And once it learns that it's time to go to sleep, you're going to fall asleep easier. But more importantly, what's going to happen is you're going to actually rest more efficiently. You're going to sleep more efficiently. So you might actually end up sleeping less, meaning the length. You might not sleep 8 hours. You might, if you're in bed for 8 hours and you wake up tired, the odds are when you put a set bedtime in play, you'll end up using that 8 hours more efficiently, where you'll actually feel great when you wake up. Sometimes people end up sleeping less than the original time they slept because they're sleeping more efficiently. Set bedtime is hands down the simplest way to get a good grip on your sleep, which will help that circadian rhythm. So that's the second element. Let's go to the third, which is probably the most confused diet. The diet comes down to this. It's all about getting your body the proper nutrients so that it can rebuild, so that it's got the energy for you to train. All comes down to what you're eating. Now, what you're eating plays into your digestion. If your digestion is screwed up, your digestion is not efficient, then your nutrient upload is going to be poor, which then is going to it defeats the whole thing. Let's put some really simple, straightforward advice on the diet so you can take all of these things, wrap them together, and have some progress. So number one, what you want to think of with you want to make sure you're eating real whole foods. If you're eating processed foods, it's not going to digest well, and processed foods don't have a very high amount of nutrients anyway, which is not going to help the process. So eliminate processed foods from your diet. The next thing would be to make sure that you're eating with regularity. A lot of people will eat 2-3 times a day. That's not enough to build muscle if you want to do it efficiently. You're going to have to, let's say you're eating 3 meals a day currently. Well, the simplest thing to do is eat your 3 meals, eliminating processed foods, and then add 2 to 3 snacks. A hard-boiled egg or some almonds are a great way to go. So you might have breakfast, snack, something to that effect. And it doesn't have to be much. Make sure that when you're eating, because you're eating more often, make sure that you don't eat so much that you ever feel pressure in your stomach, because we don't want to overload your digestive tract. It has problems there too. So again, the simplest way to go about building muscle is to take these 3 steps. Number 1, stimulate, not annihilate. Number 2, have a set bedtime so your body starts to have a better circadian rhythm. You can sleep more efficiently and recover better. Number 3 is to tune up your diet with getting processed foods out of play and make sure you're eating 5 to 6 times a day, and you'll be really happy at how much progress you get in a very short period of time when it comes to building muscle. The crazy part is you're probably going to lose some body fat in the process when you start sleeping better, because your body metabolizes a lot of fat when you're sleeping. That being said, if you like some of the stuff I'm talking about here today, you might want to check out the link below in the description box. Check out my coaching, because this is what I do. I help people understand how to reach their goals in the simplest format possible.